YouTube? It's your boy IPA back with another story time. I want to apologize for last week, man. I was really trying to upload I wanted to give y'all an interview and a story time all within 1 week, but something happened with my computer to where the file had ended up getting corrupted for the interviews, so it had fucked up my whole week in terms of editing with that shit because I was just trying to see if I could figure it out. Nonetheless, shit, we don't cry over spilled milk. We're gonna move on, but I'm definitely gonna hit y'all with a back-to-back soon, so just be ready for that, be in store for that, you know what I'm saying? Y'all, I think it's gonna be something that I'm gonna try to be disciplined on and make this a real thing for the channel. That being said though, hitting you guys with another story time just in the meantime, but this is one that I think you guys would really enjoy, so let's get into it. Okay, so to start this story off, me and my homie Schneider, he's gonna be in a lot of the stories going forward because that was my main homie back in the day. But me and my boy Schneider on this night, we decided that we wanted to trip. So we were gonna take a little bit of acid and shit, and we had a couple homies that were also gonna be tripping with us on this adventure that we were getting ready to have. But the adventure was we were gonna try to go to our local high school and go smoke inside of the press box at the football field. So I pull up on Schneider at probably 8:30 or something, and at the place in that hometown that we lived in had a central train track that kind of runs between the entire city. So if you take the train tracks, you can get from one area of the place to another area of our hometown, So me and Schneider decided that we were going to take the tracks in order to meet up with the homies at the high school and shit to go try to sneak into the press box and shit, because whole time a lot of people from our classes had been telling us that they had snuck into the press box and were able to smoke down in there and shit, but we wanted to see what the hype was about. We end up taking the railroad and we're walking. Mind you, before we started walking towards the high school, we actually popped the tab at the start of our walk. So it took from that high school to my homie's crib was about roughly a 4-mile walk just on the train tracks. So it took us maybe about an hour and a half to get the full distance or whatever. But once we pull up to the high school, we see the homies, and immediately from my experience, I just started tripping instantly. When it was I wasn't feeling anything, and I remember me and Schneider actually talking about it on the way there, damn, did we just take some duds? Did we just buy some duds or whatever? Hell nah, that shit just took some time, man. So we instantly, boom, tripping. So now we link up with the homies, and they're also getting into their trip too. And a weird thing about psychedelics that a lot of people don't really talk about when I watch any content creators who speak about psychedelics, when you're taking it all with a couple people, or you're all in the same setting and you're all tripping at the same time, I don't know what the science is to the shit, but there's some form of a connection that's being made between everybody that's involved in the trip. And it's at certain points and moments throughout the trip, everyone kind of feels the same feelings, and then everyone always acknowledges the fact that they felt that, So anyways, that'll be important for later on in the story. Anyways, we get into the so we walk through the high school, and well, not through the high school, but we walk around the high school and we get to the back where the football field's at, and we hop the fence and get into the field or whatever. We try to go to the press box, but initially we noticed that the doors are locked on both the press boxes, on the visiting side and the home side. And I'm assuming it's because the last time someone had actually snuck in and smoked there, they had left a bunch of wraps and fucking weed crumbs, tobacco, all types of shit. So they just blew up the spot for everybody. So after that, I forget who suggested it, but someone had pointed to the Jumbotron, and they were like, why don't we just try to sneak onto that? My brother and his friends used to do it back when they were seniors or whatever, so we kind of, I guess, due to the fact that none of us were in our right minds and none of us wanted to just turn around and make it a dead mission, we decided to do it. So the way that the Jumbotron was is the Jumbotron was surrounded by, it had a ladder. It was about 40, 50 feet tall. I'm not going to link the photo in there just because I don't want any bullshit to come from it, but it was about 40, 50 feet tall, and it sat on top of a hill, and it also had like a ladder that was caged in by bars. Like the bars were horizontal. No, the bars were vertical, and it was like caged in all the way up until you get to the top of the Jumbotron. So the bars were far enough apart to where we were able to kind of just squeeze through them and stuff, but it was definitely like not like it wasn't an easy fit by any means. It was definitely like a hold your breath and just kind of like, you know, shove yourself through it. So needless to say, we all end up getting there. We all get to climbing up the ladder to get to the top. So we get to the top of this Jumbotron. We're all just kind of like, damn, this shit crazy, or like, damn, what the fuck, like, why do we even do this shit? But we're just, you know, chopping it up and shit as we're smoking, or as we're rolling up the weed and getting ready to spark it up and start smoking. So for this part of the story, I'm gonna have to draw like kind of like a diagram for the viewer to be able to understand like kind of what we were seeing, and it makes the story a little more immersive. So give me 1 second. Hold on. This shit gonna take a little time, but I promise it's gonna make it worth it, because if you can't see it, then you won't really understand how struck we were in this situation. We were genuinely fucked, and I don't understand how the fuck we even managed to put ourselves in this predicament. But like I said, we were 16, so it's not entirely unbelievable, I guess you could say. Okay, so it's gonna look very fucking rough, but this does like kind of describe like the full layout. So if you could see, so school's right here. Over here is an access road, and it goes one direction over here that runs horizontal to the football field, and then it also goes down this way that runs vertical, and then on the back part of it, it circles around like this. And these two, so back here, these are two practice football fields, and then the far right over here is the barn. This is like a barn that we used to keep all of the practice football equipment inside of and shit. And then to the far, what is this? Far right, I guess. This would be the baseball fields over here. So when we started, we came in through down here, and we actually went in through the entrance right up here. So this is where the press boxes were at initially, and this is where we were. So as we're all just kind of like chilling there and shit, like smoking down, we see like a car, and mind you, this is like, it's probably like every bit of like 1:30 in the morning. Like it's 1:30 on like a Saturday night type shit. So nobody should have been at the fucking school whatsoever. So we see a car pull in, and above this part of the school, so I guess it'll kind of look more like this. The above part of the school has two roads that split off. So we see a car come into this first road, and it's kind of just driving like the length of the school down as if it was going to be coming to the football field. So as they come down and make this initial right, there's spotlights, or there's just they're just lights that kind of border the football field, so like you could see everything that's on this road because it's really well lit. As we cross, like, and we're, mind you, all of us are dead fucking silent. We're just looking at this car, and as it turns and we could see the car, the full car, motherfucking police car. It's a whole ass squad car. So like obviously we all start to fucking like put the fucking blunts out and shit. We put the blunts out. Everyone's kind of climbing down and shit, trying to like climb down the ladder as fast as possible. But mind you, it's 6 of us up there. So, you know, we taking time. And I couldn't fit it all into this one picture. But on the right side of the baseball field, there's actually another road that wraps around and it leads back here. That would be by the barn and like the practice field. So it's like a big ass circle that surrounds the entire football field and baseball fields. But the guy's just kind of creeping. He's going like probably maybe like not even 10 miles an hour. Like dude's barely moving, but he's just patrolling squad cars. So he's just trying to do his rounds and shit. So he's coming down this way as we're all trying to get off of this. And these things look bunched together, but from the Jumbotron to the barn was maybe like a solid, I want to say 30, 40 yards or something. So we run, everybody gets off of the, gets down the ladder, and one of my homies, he ends up getting his leg, like his thigh stuck inside of those bars that we were initially in. So he's yanking on this bar to try to get his leg free, and one of us just ends up pulling him out of it, and his whole leg was just bruised up. It was swollen as fuck after all this. So we pull him out of the bars. He falls. We run over to the fence. Somebody jumps over it, just eats shit on the other side of the fence hard as fuck, just smacks the fuck out of the ground. So we're all just like, there's no time for reactions or even to laugh at the shit. We're just trying to get the fuck out of there. So they run over to the they run over by the barn. Now the barn, like I said, the barn is right over here next to both these practice fields. So like behind the practice fields is just all woods. So it's barn, practice field, woods, like all surrounding it. So when he runs over to the barn, the last person that gets there ends up setting off the motion sensor light. So the barn has a huge ass fucking motion sensor light that just flashes and it stays on for like a minute. So like I said, this cop, he's still patrolling around this whole area, and he's coming down like on the right side, getting ready to wrap around to be by the barn where we're at. So we see that he's kind of like not even fucking a minute away, like probably less than a minute, maybe like 45 seconds. So my homies, they all turn around and run into the woods. I'm like, I'm not trying to do that, because like I had told y'all on that last story, after those fucking thorns and running through the woods and shit, that shit traumatized me. So I'm like, nigga, I ain't doing that shit. I'd rather get caught, damn near almost rather get caught. So I end up turning around and I run from the barn to jump the fence, or not jump the fence, but climb the fence for the baseball field, get over that shit, and run all the way over to the dugout, while the homies and everybody else just ran into the fucking woods. So when they run into the woods and I run into the dugout, I'm able to see like that the cop stopped at where we were at, like where the spotlight was at, because he knows it's a motion sensor light too. So he stops there, starts flashing his light all through the woods and all through the dugout. So my ass is just sitting there, just kind of looking, trying not to get like hit by the spotlight and shit. But the guy never ends up actually like seeing any of us, and he just continues his patrol, and then he just wraps around the rest of this and goes back up, and just ends up leaving the school and shit. So after he ends up leaving, I probably stayed there for no bullshit, maybe like 20-30 minutes, just because I was just scared shitless, didn't know what the fuck to do, tripping my ass off, don't know where the homies went and shit, and now I'm just fucking in the middle of an area where I'm not supposed to be at, like essentially. So I'm thinking about cameras and shit, I'm thinking about all types of shit. So needless to say, end up calling one of the boys, and they told me that they were at the front of the school and they were waiting for me. They thought that I got caught up. So I tell them that I'm about to like run up over there. So end up jogging, get back to like the front of the school where like we initially had met up at. And as I get back, I see that these boys are all covered in thorns and shit. Like they got fucked up by just like a bunch of thorns and branches and shit. And we ended up going home. Like one of the people that met us up there that was tripping with us, he had drove there, so we ended up driving back, hopping in his car and riding back to his house, because like we were all just trying to regroup and figure out what the fuck just happened. So like I was saying at the beginning of the trip, everybody's trip is kind of synced at this point. Like we're all just like, damn, we just went through this like, fucking high stress ass situation. Granted, we didn't get caught, but at the same time, a lot of people got fucked up. And the biggest injury, or the worst injury, I should say, one of my boys, he was like, once we get inside, he's like, damn, bro, like my ear hurts bad as fuck, and turns, and the whole ear is like missing like a chunk out of it. Like it looked like like a branch or like a fucking thorn or some shit just ripped a whole piece of his ear out. So I'm looking at it while we're tripping, like we're all looking at it at this point. So, cause I'm like, damn, bro, like, what the fuck? And he's like, bro, do you think I'm gonna have to go to the hospital for this shit? Like how do you think this shit looks? And I'm just staring at that motherfucker, and I'm just like, yo, bro, that shit was like pulsating and shit. It was like it just looked even crazier because I was out of my mind and shit. But seeing that motherfucker, bro, like just seeing his ear like that and shit, I was like, yeah, you need to go to the hospital, bro. You can't just like let that shit sit. Needless to say, bro just ends up fucking pouring like some alcohol and peroxide on that shit and tried to like just like bandage it up as good as he could type. And that was pretty much all it was. But yeah, I think most important lesson to learn in that story: please don't ever try to repeat none of that shit, or please don't ever like try to trespass or sneak onto like no private property like that, because we lucked out in that situation. And granted, we got away, but at the same time, that shit was way too close for comfort. And I mean, shit, I was just only reason I even thought of this story is because I was hanging with some homies and shit, and they had brought it up, and I was like, "What? Like, damn! Like, I forget we even did all that shit." But sometimes I think that I just try to compartmentalize all the shit that, like, all the high stress, traumatic shit that I go through. I try to just compartmentalize it and push it into the back of my brain. But with this series and shit, man, I'm trying to come out and tell y'all like everything, any and everything that's worth talking about on this motherfucking camera is gonna be talked about. But that being said, if you like the video, make sure you share, subscribe. We almost at 100 subscribers, and when we get to 100, I'ma definitely hop on here and tell y'all a really crazy story, some shit that you're not gonna want to miss. But it's your boy IPA. Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Y'all heard it here first. I'm out.
Don't need you in my life. It's not that I don't love you, baby.